Hello, this is Mike Porter with Print Mail Consultants for Mailing Systems Technology. Thanks for joining me for this short presentation about privacy breaches and document security. This video contains excerpts of a full presentation I do for various groups. If you'd like me to speak to your group or organization, please email me at mporter@printmailconsultants.com. Lots of things can happen when a privacy breach occurs, some more severe than others, but none of them good. Here are just a few of the consequences you might experience if your company is responsible for a privacy breach. The first is negative publicity. Not every privacy breach is going to end up in the news, but if it does, I will guarantee you that your CEO does not want to be explaining to a reporter how your company compromised the privacy of individuals. Even if there's no media coverage, word of these kinds of incidents can get back to current or prospective customers. Next is rework. In the print mail business, chances are that the situation will call for recreating and remailing the documents. This can cost a lot more than the original run, as you might have to rush order more forms, envelopes, or inserts. And you might have to pay overtime wages as well, since you and your customers will be anxious to put this incident in the past. And of course, if a privacy breach falls under the jurisdiction of a regulatory authority, the print mail facility may be subject to fines. And there could be penalties for failing to achieve service level agreements. And even if there's no regulatory fallout, mail recipients whose privacy was compromised can always sue. The print mail provider would likely be named in such a suit and compelled to help pay for a defense. As you think about your facility, you should contemplate the impact if any of these things happen to you. Would your organization be able to withstand the negative fallout? Would redirecting resources to handle a privacy breach have an effect on the ability to complete other work on time? Those are important questions to ask yourself. So let's take a look at just a couple of organizations that did suffer these effects and see what they did to get themselves into trouble. This example is from a large health insurance plan. They printed EOB's explanation of benefits for one patient on the front of the paper and for another patient on the back. 3,800 members were affected. Now EOBs are a treasure trove of personal and health information. The official IT explanation was blamed on a printer malfunction. And that might be true. I've seen printers get out of sync on duplex jobs in a number of instances. But clearly the organization didn't have sufficient quality control so that the printing error was caught during inserting. It would seem that they would have been short. The fine in this case was relatively minor, only $150,000. But the company officials had to appear in public hearings before the insurance commissioner. One of those hearings took place on Christmas Eve morning. The executives were probably not too happy to have to interrupt their vacations because of a printer malfunction that could cause such an impactful event. This example doesn't involve printed documents at all, but it does address the responsibility of caring for confidential data, which print and mail operations deal with all the time. In this case, a portable hard drive containing personal health information was transported outside the facility by an employee of the Department of Health and Social Services. The drive was stolen. The incident was reported as required under HIPAA, and then this triggered an investigation. The investigation revealed that the DHSS lacked sufficient standards to prevent such breaches, and they didn't train their employees well enough about data security and didn't follow data encryption guidelines. The fallout here was really expensive, $1.7 million. The fine was determined not only by the breach, but by the lack of readiness. The lesson here is that it's not good enough to wait until there's a problem and then say, "We're sorry, we'll fix it, it won't happen again." That could be a very expensive strategy. Here are some things that just about any operation can do to lower your risk of being responsible for privacy violations. The first is automated monitoring. Now, not everyone needs a full-blown automated document factory, but mail piece integrity and tracking are becoming expected minimum competencies for print mail service providers. For some applications, there are just not any manual methods that are sufficient protection. Next is written procedures and policies. We saw with the state agency how expensive it can be if you're judged to be lacking in this area. Having policies in writing in advance of a privacy incident is cheap insurance. And with written procedures, employees have consistent checklists or instructions to follow, which are especially useful for training. Periodic reinforcement is important too. After running a job 99 times with no problem, the quality control tends to decrease. And that's when a problem may occur. Regularly reinforcing the importance of actually following the procedures instead of just initialing the form without checking is a really good idea. When we think of document security and privacy protection, we might tend to concentrate on firewalls and site security. But spending too much time worrying about international hackers and not enough time assessing the risk within the walls of our own establishments can be a big mistake. Most privacy breaches involve employees, and most of those are accidents, not malicious attempts to steal information. I'd like you to think about those examples I gave you. Imagine some of those mistakes occurring in your environment, which isn't a big stretch. Those errors could really happen to almost anyone. Then think about the possible fallout from such an event and how that might affect your organization. If that makes you concerned, or if you've had a near miss, think about what would have happened if you didn't get lucky and catch that mistake. I encourage you to take the time to do an assessment of your facility, workflow, and jobs. Find your vulnerabilities and take whatever steps you can to avoid having the experience of a privacy breach on your own. This is all my contact information. If you don't already subscribe to our free monthly newsletter, Practical Stuff, you can do so at our website. We cover document operations, postal matters, and talk about document security in this publication. And we're using Twitter more these days, so please follow me to get access to other information that I think will be helpful. That's all the time we have today, so thanks a lot for listening.